When you are developing an application that is going for release and wants to have great impact throughout the world, one language wouldn't be enough. English is definitely one of the most spoken languages in the world. Internationalizing your app is mandatory. People can feel personal touch in their native language. Flutter doesn't really provide a straight way to have localization on contrary to native Android, but it gives a lot of freedom to perform localization. And if you are just starting out, it could be extremely confusing. In this tutorial, you are going to learn how to localize your applications in a simple way just by using JSON files to store your strings in multiple languages. And this is going to be the final application. You can see we have the title, app bar title, and the text to change. And we are having the pop-up button where there are two options. One is English language and other is Nepali language. And whenever you select a language, you can see it is changing. And when you go back and clear it and then again come back, we're gonna save the languages so that whenever we open the app, it's going to have the same previous languages. Right, now let's get back to our project. So for that, I'm going to create the new folder named lang, and inside where I'm going to create two JSON files. One is en.json and other would be yani.json. And these two files are going to store strings of a specific language. en.json is going to hold the strings of English languages and yani.json is going to hold the strings of Nepali language. So English in en.json I'm going to have two strings, and one is the app title and other is this text. So I have two strings, and then yani.json I also going to have these two text but with different values. You can see. And don't forget, these keys needs to be same. This local demo and local demo, text to change and text to change. These keys needs to be same so that we can get the values according to these keys. But they can hold the different values according to their languages. Right, now after that I need to provide the path to this language folder in the popsec.yaml file. So I'm going to scroll down. Whenever I found the assets, I'm going to stop and then uncomment it, and then I'm going to provide the path to this lang folder, and it will be going to lang, and then I'm going to remove this. Along with it, I'm going to add some packages we are going to use in this project to make our project working. And this would be shared preferences, so that we could save the languages we have just selected, and provider for the state management, and this Flutter localization gives us methods so that we can change the app languages. Right, after that I'm going to go back to the main.dart file. You can see I already have my main.dart and I have created the new file name homescreen.dart and provide home to this home screen. Nothing much, it is very easy. Okay, first thing first, now I'm gonna create the provider class that's gonna hold our local. So inside the lib folder, I'm gonna create the file named app language provider, and it's gonna be dart. So here I'm gonna app language provider actions change notifier, and this change notifier notifies whenever something happens to this provider class and all the widgets that is listening to this language provider. Right, now I'm gonna have the new variable. Okay, I need to import this local. This should be local, and then it would be app local equals const local, and the language code would be en. and then I'm gonna create the get method, get app local, and I'm gonna return this app local I have just created. You can see the default language would be English first. And now I would create the new method fetch local, and it is going to be async. Where preference shared preferences dot get instance. First we initialize the shared preferences so that we can either get or set the values or save the values to this shared preferences. If prefs dot get string language code equals null, if we don't have any values to this preference, the default app language would be English, and I'm going to return null here. Else I'm going to have the local from the string that's going to have the key language code, and if it not equals so here what I am doing is, first I have initialized the shared preferences, and if the prefs doesn't hold any language code, that is if it is null, then I'm gonna have the default language, it would be English. And then if app local consists of the language code, then I'm gonna store it into this app local and then notify listeners, and then I'm gonna return null. So this notified listeners is going to notify all the listeners or all the UIs or the values that is listening to this app language provider. And now again this app language provider also going to have the other method that would be change language, and it is going to have the local, and also it is going to be async method, and I'm going to initialize the shared preferences, and then if app local is equals type, that is already that language is selected, then I'm gonna return nothing. And if type is equals const local Nepali, I'm gonna change the app local to local Yani. Oops, it should be const. So if type is already equal to app local, then I'm gonna return nothing, and it gonna do nothing. And if it is type is equals Nepali, then I'm gonna assign this app local to Nepali, and then I'm gonna save this to the shared preferences. Prefs dot set string, and the key would be language code. Don't forget this should be the same key, and the value would be Yani. And also I'm gonna duplicate it, and then country code should be an A. If it is English, I'm gonna copy paste it and then paste it here, and then I'm gonna change this to EN, and this should be US. So here this method is going to be called whenever we change the language from this pop-up menu button. You can see whenever we change this language, then this method is going to be called, and it gonna hold these values, and then it gonna notify all the listeners that is listening to this app language provider. So after that, now I'm gonna create the localization for this app. So for that, I would create the new file, named app localizations dart. I would create the class app localizations. Like there are global material localizations, you need to have localizations specific to this application. It is one of the most important method to translate. You can still use this method within your UI to specify localized strings. So here I am gonna create the new variable local and name it local, and then create the constructor. Okay, let's import it. Method, and it is showing the I need to create the constructor. That was this dot local. Right, now let's create a method so that we could load these languages into this app localizations. So for that, I'm going to create the new method, new variable, that would be map string, strings, and that would be empty. And then I'm going to create the future method that returns boolean load, and as it is future and want to load it asynchronously, I'm gonna make it asynchronous function, and then I'm gonna load the JSON string from this lang folder. Root bundle dot load string from lang. This is the new folder, and then I need to have the language code local dot language code dot JSON. So here I am loading the language code from this folder, lang folder, and then after getting the JSON string, let's decode it, and it's going to be map string and dynamic. Let's name it JSON map, JSON dot decode this JSON string. Need to import this JSON, and then need to return this localized strings in map. So for that, of key and value, JSON map dot map, and let's remove this, and it should be closed, and it should return map entry. We're gonna store key and the value, and the value would be in string, right? And then I'm gonna assign it to the localized strings, and then after it is loaded, I'm going to return it true, and this showing the error, right? I'm going to remove this const. So what actually here we are doing is we are loading this JSON file from here and then returning the key value pair. That means these both languages consist of key and value, and we are returning this values from here. Where was I? Okay, let's close this, and then here. So after that, now I'm gonna create the method which translate this value according to this key. So string can be null, translate, and it's gonna take the key and it will return localize strings key. So it's gonna return the key, and then this method will return value, and then we're gonna have these different values according to the key we have just provided to this method. Now I'm going to create a method so that we can access these app localizations and make inherited widget easier. For that, it would be static app localizations of field context, and it will return localizations dot of type app localization. It would be this class name of this class name and of type app localizations. So we're gonna access all of these values, and we're gonna change the values using this app localizations of this context, and then we're gonna get this key. So this is the method that makes us easier in our widgets to translate the keys and get return the values. Right, now I'm gonna create the delegate class. So localization delegate is an object that knows what to do when it's time to load a particular languages. So I'm going to create the new app localizations underscore delegate dot start and class app localization and it will extend this app localization extends localization delegate of type app localizations. So I need to override some methods. Okay, is supported load and this should reload. So you can see this load method is coming from this app localizations. You can see this is the method that is coming from app localizations, and this is supported and should reload is from this localization delegate. So it's supported the method. Inside here we are going to include all of the languages that our app is going to support. You can see here EN and EN is there, then we need to include these languages that is going to be supported in this application. And this should reload is going to check if we are going to reload this delegate or not, and this load method loads the values from here and returns app localizations. Right, now let's do it. And in is supported, it will return all of the language that is going to be supported in this application. That will be EN and ENE that contains local dot language code. That means we need to have the language code, and you can find the language code. You can search in the Google to find the language code, and then in should reload, and then in load app localizations should be localizations equals, it should be local, and await localizations dot load. It should be method and you would return the localizations. It should be async, right? And this app localizations is class is where the JSON loading actually runs. You can see the JSON loading actually runs here, and it returns the localization. And also now I'll create a constructor delegate, and it will be empty. And also we can provide the const because its instance doesn't changes. Right, now after the localization delegate is completed, I'm going to go back to the app localizations and call this app localization delegate to this app localizations. So here I will create the static const localizations delegate, that would be app localization delegate. Delegate equals app localizations delegate. Okay, oops, it should be app localizations delegate. Okay, so it is a static member to have simple access to delegate from the material app. So we can get this delegate from the material app. Right, now after all this, now I'm gonna go back to the home screen where we're gonna design this screen. So here I have paused the video and completed this my screen, home screen, and you can complete it first. So now I'm gonna run it first and check whether it is working or not. Now okay, you can see the application is running. We have the pop-up menu button with the app title, localization demo, and the text to change. You can see. Now I'm gonna change this title and this text whenever we select the language from here. So for that I need to initialize the provider. For that, let app language provider, and I will name it app language. And then inside build method, app language equals provider dot of context. I need to import this provider, right, and it is of type app language provider. This is the provider we are using. And now with this app language I'm going to change the app languages, because this is holding the method to change the language. You can see the change language method we have created in app language provider. Right, now let's back and coming down, you can see on selected, when the value is 1, that is English. You can see it is English, so I'm gonna change it to English, and whenever the value is to Nepali, then I'm gonna change it to Nepali. Right, now let's do it. App language dot change, it should be dot change language of type const local language code, that would be en, and when the value is 2, it would be yani. You can see when 1 it is English and when 2 it is Nepali. So I'm gonna reload it, and it may show the error because we haven't defined the provider into the main.dart file. It is as expected. Let's go back to the main.dart file, and then first we need to be sure if all the widgets binding are initialized. Widgets flutter binding dot ensure initialized, and then app language provider app language is also would be initialized. Should be app language provider language provider, and then I would fetch local. Whenever the app runs, it fetches which language is been selected by the user, and it should be app language dot fetch local, because this method is only in this app language provider. And then I'm gonna pass this app language to the my app language, and then let's create this app language provider into the my app. It can be null app language provider, and then here it would be required this dot app language provider. I'm going to initialize it, and it wouldn't be const, and then I would remove this const from here. Okay, let's make it app language, and here also, right. And now we have initialize, get all the local, and then inside my app I have this app language. So I'm going to wrap this material app with the widget and name it change notifier listener provider, sorry, and then it's gonna have the create method, and it takes context, that will return app language. Okay, and then I also need to provide the local dot local. Oops, so I need to wrap this material app with the consumer also. First let's remove this, and then I'm gonna wrap it with the builder, and the builder name would be consumer, that would be app language provider, and this is gonna take 3 parameters. One would be context, other would be model, and then other would be child, and then okay. So now the local would be app language dot app local. Okay, sorry, it should be model dot app local. This app local we have created in app language provider. And then the supported languages locals, and it should be array, and local one would be English of country code US, and other would be local would be any of country code and any. Let's make it uniform, so I'm going to wrap it with only one single, and then the localizations delegate, and also it would be in array app localizations dot delegate, and this the delegate we have just created for this specific application. This method we need to provide to this main dot dart file. Along with it, we need to provide global material localizations dot delegate. Need to import it. Need to import Flutter localizations from Flutter localizations. You can see we have the package here. You can see it provides this global material localizations. Similarly, global widgets localization delegate, and then global Cupertino localization delegate. Right, now after that this should work. Now let's reload it. it is running, and then now I'm gonna change to English, and it is not changing. Why? Because we are not getting the text from this localizations. So for that you can do, let's remove this first, app localizations dot of this context dot translate the string. That would be, let's go to the lang folder and get this local demo. This should be the our title, and it should be not null, and also this should be okay. It should be wrapped in, oops, should be wrapped in text. It was my mistake. Right, now it should work. And then similarly I'm gonna copy this and go down to this text, and I'm gonna paste it here, and then shouldn't be const, let's make it const, and then need to remove this bracket, and then our text would be this text to change back, change it to this key, and this translate is coming from this app localizations. Okay, now let's run it again. We have English first, and then now I change to Nepali. You can see the app language is changing. Whenever I change it, you can see it is changing. Now whenever I go back and then remove it from the stack and then go back, and then it is in English, and let's check it to Nepali. Why it is not changing? Okay, it is lost connected to the device. I would run it again and then come back. Alright, we have our app running, so I'm gonna go back and then remove it, come back, then the app language, go back, remove it from stack, and then again change the app. You can see the language is still saving. So this is done because we have first fetched this app local into this main.dart file, and this local we have passed to this my app, and we are listening this provider in the material app. So this is how you can change the language of your app, or you can internationalize your application. So if you have any queries regarding this tutorial, you can visit flutterjunction.com. We are in the website also. You can see, you can find this tutorial. You can go on your own and clear your doubts, and also if you have any queries after reading this, you can mail me at flutterjunction@gmail.com, or you can ping me on comment section. So if you like this video, don't forget to like, comment and share it with your friends. And if you love this video, you can subscribe and press the bell icon so that you can get notified on upcoming videos. Thank you. Happy coding.